Welcome to Real Estate Success DFW, the podcast where top producing agents from Dallas-Fort Worth come together to share their stories and strategies behind their success. I'm Shaune Corbett, your host, and with over 300 million sold in the local real estate market and the honor of being best of B multiple times, I know what it takes to make it in this market. Each episode, we're going to dive into the world of real estate, learning from the very best in the industry. If you're ready to level up your game, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Thanks everyone for joining Real Estate Success DFW with Shaune Corbett. I've got a guest, Rosa Collins. She says Dallas. I think she's more Plano. Is that the area you're in?
I am more Collin County, but
Yeah. I mean, I think anyone from this area, when you meet people away from it, I just say I'm from Dallas, right? I mean, we certainly know Plano because we've been here a long time. Well, thank you for joining me, Rosa.
thank you for having me.
So I usually like to try to do the connection, just so it's not just random people thrown on here. Rosa actually sold a house to some good friends of mine, and they really liked her a lot. They thought a lot of her. They thought she was one of the top agents out there in Plano, super excited about her, what she did, and she cares. And it'll come through when you talk with Rosa that she's sincere and she cares about what she does. And I think that's not always the case with agents. They make it more transactional. And I think Rosa really takes a more relationship approach. And I know the client she worked with, that particularly falls extremely high because they're relational about everything. She worked with the son of our daycare person who runs a daycare, and she knew the fiance and became wife. So that was the connection. She sold to them, and Miss Jane is what we call our daycare person. She gets really excited about our kids and the things going on in our kids' lives. So we're really engaged with Miss Jane, and she said, "Hey, I've got an agent for you for your podcast. You got to meet her." So that's how we initially got connected. And most of you know, before I do podcasts, I make sure they've sold some real estate. They've got some experience. They have some real value add to provide to the community. And I really like Rosa's story. And I think it's going to resonate with a lot of you out there that aren't in front of everyone and really obnoxious or just about making money. We're about, building some long-term relationships. So thanks again for coming on. And we're going to talk about your story. I always try to start with that. But you said you've been doing this for, I think you said about 20 years. Is that what you said?
That's really about 15 years. But I got my license in 2007 years. But I'm from Dallas. All this around here since 2002.
Do you have a particular client that resonates? Let's just look over the time, maybe not even the most recent. Is there something that normally resonates with you that you connect with that audience? You have a passion for what they're going through. Maybe you're empathetic. Is there a particular group that you really like to focus on or just always works well with you?
Well, I have to say that I truly have a heart for first-time home buyers. I want to nurture them. I want to take care of them. They're very deer in the headlights when they're looking for the first house. They have so much available to them on the internet, so many homes to see, and they're beautifully staged, but they don't necessarily have the knowledge to research the subdivision a little more, or the location, or why an elementary school is important to their subdivision, even if they don't plan on having children. So I really like to educate them and walk this journey with them. It's very exciting, and they're very appreciative. So I do have an empathy and a passion for that. That's not all my business because it takes a little more time to give them what they need and to listen to them and to help them sort out their feelings on each house. So
Well, I like you talk about schools, okay? And I think that's an important component. I think most agents skip the aspect. So they have someone, let's say either empty nester or someone that's new and they're newly married and they're ready to buy their first home. And they might be 10 years from, having kids getting into school, right? So they don't really think about that. And I think it's relevant, even if they never plan to have kids or they're so far ahead, that they're going to have kids, that the relevance of a good school is going to affect their value of their property, right?
absolutely, because You have to think about resale. And so I tell them, when you buy this house, I want you to live here. I want you to make memories. I want to make sure this is the right house for you. And sometimes I'll say, this is not the right house for you. But if it's in a great school district and the school district maintains its, its ratings, then this will be a great resale property for you. And it'll be easy to sell because somebody else will want to come in for this elementary school. And I really do research that, and I have them research it as well. I don't do all of it. I give them the tools to do the research to help them make their own decision on something like that. But, no matter where you are in your life, I do look at the school district and some area, and I do work with people who are downsizing. Now, that was primarily what I did prior to COVID and during COVID. I worked with people who were downsizing and going more into garden homes or golf course homes. Now that has kind of shifted because they all refinanced at 3% and they're not necessarily looking to do that. But there are areas to where if you are, say, over 55, you don't really worry about schools that much. But other than that, I'm always looking at schools.
Yeah, I always remind them of that. I say, hey, I know you want to move to that particular area, but the schools are negative and they're going to affect your house value. And I said, that's fine, and I always put things in numbers. I said that $500,000 house is going to be worth 550 in 10 years. Or if you are in that area, it might only be worth 525. If $25,000 loss is worth the 10-year cost that you've been there and the location's that important, let's go. I just want to make sure we have that conversation because I want them to call me when they sell the house. I don't want them to be mad at me, right?
Exactly. I want them to be a repeat client.
Before we talk about pivoting to new clients, I want to go back to, clients that you meet with. So we have this buyer consultation opportunity where we can sit down and go over things with them. And that conversation is going to look different for someone that's never done it. I think most agents don't take the extra step to consider they're talking to someone that everything you're saying is foreign. So talk a little bit about, do you have information or other things you're going to provide to them and above and beyond maybe what you would do to a second buyer or third buyer?
Well, yes, I do. And I will tell you, working with Miss Jane's son, I mean, they were a wonderful couple. And I explained as much as I could to them. But I realized that coming out of COVID, we were working so fast that we forgot to do some of the basics. And so what I did is I put together a whole packet. I have a copy, I did a sample contract. I have a copy of an inspection report. I have a copy of all the buyer's reps. I have the process, a little wheel of get pre-qualified, sign the buyer's rep. And then I sit down with them. There's more things in this package, anything that I feel like is useful for them. And it takes us about an hour, sometimes an hour and a half to go through this whole package because I want to explain to them, this is what I'm going to be asking you to sign, this contract, in the heat of a moment of a house that you really want to buy. And you're not going to remember all these words and these terms that I'm telling you because you're going to do this, once every 5 years or 7 years, 10 years. And I do it all day, every day. And we go through every page of everything. And so by the time they sign the buyer's rep, they understand my worth and my value. By the time we have a contract, I just have to remind them of just a few things, but I outline, here's your out-of-pocket expenses that you're going to have when you come into the contract. And so that's very helpful for them. It's color-coded. And then by the time we get to the inspection, they are not having any issues, or for lack of better words, they're not freaking out over all the deficiencies that show up in an inspection report because they've already been educated on what's semi-normal, what's not normal, and knowing that I have their back. I'm going to call anything out on an inspection. And so it becomes a less stressful thing for them when we get to the closing table, because I'm sure you have heard buyers say, towards the end, they didn't know what they were signing. They were just signing to win the house and get the house and get to the closing. Well, I want my buyers to understand as much as they can through the process. And that's why I take the time with them. And even if you bought a house, if you're not a first-time home buyers, this is your second or third house, everything's changed. So I have the same process with them. It goes a little faster, but I give them copies of everything. We walk through the process, we walk through the inspection reports, and it's just made everyone more comfortable.
Yeah, preparation can definitely reduce anxiety in all transactions for sure. I like the general philosophy I always carry. I don't like surprises and I don't want my buyers to have surprises. So we stay ahead of what the expectation is and what we need in cash to close, what our monthly payment's going to be, some of the obvious things, and then what we're going to encounter when we go look at this 1980s house, what the reasonable expectation of what we're going to walk into. It's not going to be move-in ready. I mean, it can be move-in ready, but there's going to be some functional things 100% and maintenance stuff, you know, things that are not taken care of that they're going to have to come out of pocket or the seller will, you know.
Well, to piggyback on that, what I'm telling my buyers, I don't care where you are in your life stage, is you need to start putting a savings account aside for a roof because of everything that's gone on with the insurance industry here lately. Your deductible has increased. So it's like immediately I need a separate savings account just in case you have to have a new roof. And, you know, it's not something that's covered the way it used to be when your parents owned a house. So
Sure. All right, let's talk about your pivot, right? So COVID happened, whether we like it or not. It changed the way a lot of us have done and interacted. Yes, during that period of time, 21, 22 were outrageously fast, high transaction counts, lots of things happening, lots of moving parts. And then it slowed down to a grind to where it is today, where transactions are much less often and you made a pivot. So prior, one of your client opportunities was downsizing, and then you've made a move from the downsizing clients to what?
probably more families with children that are in schools that need good schools. You know, I primarily focus on the 75093 zip code. And
Plano. It's Plano, yeah.
I know. So, you know, one thing that I did is I had worked with an investor years ago who would come in and I don't really want to call it a flip. I mean, he remodeled the home. And so I had some opportunities for him and I reached out to him. So this was part of my pivot is I would work with him to buy a house off market. And then once he remodeled the home, then I would put it on the market. So now I have a second one. So that's one of the areas that I pivoted to. So I do look for properties that have not been updated. And so I've worked out a system that works for me to help the investor buy the house, and then I get to list the house.
Do you happen to know? I know you just present him opportunities and he tells you what he'll buy it for. Do you have a percentage of ARV that you utilize when finding and prospecting houses? Or do you kind of have a gut feeling that you know he would consider or not? How do you kind of evaluate them?
I have more of a gut feel because I have an understanding of how much it will take to put the house to the condition that it needs to be in this market. I lived in my house for 30 years and I slowly remodeled it. So I understand the design process and the cost process. And so we've got an opportunity right now that's not going to work for him. So, you know, I present him things. He doesn't always buy everything, but, you know, I present it. So that one I will go put on the market. It'll go into MLS this weekend.
Okay.
Um,
So you get direct opportunities, direct to seller opportunities that you put out. And you know what? That's going to happen more right now. I think the concern is we don't see the values high enough for us to buy, and sellers are still holding pretty firm to 2, 3 years ago pricing. So there's this battle here, right? I used to move about one or two of these a month, right? So I'd move off-market properties. I would facilitate it. I'd have, you know, I've got over 100 wholesale vendors that send me houses. So I would match them up with the buyer, and then we would facilitate the transaction. I might do the rehab, they might do the rehab, and then I would list the property just like you're doing. It's great. Turnkey. You can almost do some of them and never even talk to the buyer or seller. It's incredible. I've done plenty of transactions by text, which is not the normal orthodox way, but it's just money, right? I mean, just like either the numbers work or they don't, and there's nothing emotional about it. And it works and you can turnkey. It does create a really good system of opportunity. But the problem is, even with a direct to seller, you've got to have some margin enough to consider that the market might be pretty flat when you go to sell. And that's
mhm.
what makes it really challenging for, you know, to try to make those numbers kind of work.
Yes, definitely in this market, it's very challenging. But in this case, the sellers are very reasonable.
Good.
So, you know, we'll price accordingly and we'll get this house, you know, sold. Uh,
I
The
love it. So when you go to list, and you've been doing it long enough, I know you've sold a number of listings and sales on the list side. What do you do with staging? How do you deal with that? Or what's your recommendation generally?
Well, it depends on the property, depends on if it's vacant or occupied. If it's occupied, I have a stager. We go in and we'll edit, we'll remove some things, we'll give them homework, and then we'll bring some things in. and photograph it after that. If it's completely vacant, I have to decide if I want to do something called soft staging or if I want to do full staging. And soft staging is, just some artwork, some greenery, some rugs. And so the house that I put on the market this weekend, I will do soft staging. I don't really like to use like box brownie virtual staging. In some instances, it's okay. I mean, I just used it yesterday and put a swimming pool in someone's backyard for MLS purposes. But people want to walk in and they want to feel themselves in there. And we get them there with the photos first, right? And the virtual staging is gorgeous. And sometimes you can't tell if it's virtually staged or not, because people swipe the photo so fast. But once they get in, the buyers are not as enamored with the home when it's vacant because they really can't see themselves in there. So you have to do something to warm it up. And I also will sometimes give suggestions. If you have the formal living room that sometimes is used or not used, I will give them photos. I'll put a little binder together and go examples of you can convert this room with these doors to your home office. And I'll even do like pictures of bookshelves and desk placements. And it just helps people give a little bit of vision to put themselves in the house. And that seems to really help.
I love that. Yeah. So I think all agents should have conversations about staging at some level. I
Mhm.
think you're right. Unless the house they have good furniture and everything works. If they don't, and it's vacant for sure, we need to have a conversation about it. Even I know you're not as high on virtual, depending on the price range, at least consider that because you can do it for so inexpensive and it does give enough additional visual, opportunities on what rooms are and what they can be. Because when they're blank spaces, it's really hard to visualize. You use the term soft staging. I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
So I flipped about 100 homes here in Dallas Fort Worth, and I had about 5 houses worth of staging stuff, but it
Mhm.
wasn't full staging. I would call it decor staging. And I
Mhm.
would do the kitchen, all bathrooms, and then we would do stuff on the walls. And then we
Mhm.
would have like plants and stuff on the corners and stuff that we can move in one full large SUV.
Yep.
That's our limit. So whatever we can fit in that, that's what's going to go in and stage and dress up the house and give it a little bit more personal touch and distract from the imperfections. You
Yes.
know, even when you
Yes.
do a full flip, it's never going to be perfect. We did not rebuild this house, but you can move in and feel good about the house. It's in good enough shape, and it helps hide a lot of the imperfections. So that I've never heard of soft. Where'd you get that term? Did you make that up, or is that an actual term, soft staging?
I'm not sure where I came up with that. I mean, it's just not a full, it's the same as what you're doing. It's exactly the same thing, but I just call it soft staging instead of, full bringing all the furniture in.
Okay. Talk to me about, because I know you do luxury as well, and I know it's nothing about me, but my average ticket's like 375. I don't do a lot of luxury. I move pretty fast, so that's not a space that I specialize in. I don't talk their language and I'm not in the same space. So talk to me how you would work differently with somebody in that luxury market, because that's not for all agents either.
No, it's not. And I think the key to working with luxury agent is it's active listening because every seller, every buyer has something that's the most important thing to them. And you have to ask them that. But in the luxury department, they will tell you right away. That they're seasoned, they've bought many homes, they've had successful businesses, their time is valuable. And so you just have to really actively listen. You have to learn how to read body cues and focus on what's the most important thing to them, which might seem silly to you. One of the big things is the size of the closet. That is a big deal to luxury buyers. The garage. They don't want the garages that are the swing in. They want straight in. Can they have a lift? So you have to find out what's the most important thing to them and focus on that when you're helping them buy a house or when you're selling a house. I have pages and pages of the amenities that are in this house. They have spent a lot of time building this house, putting these features in. They are of value, and you want to promote all of those things when you're listing it and really have a heart to sell this house as if it were your own. Maybe some of these things that they put in the house really don't matter to the next buyer, but it doesn't matter. This is my seller's house, so this is what he loved and what he's done, and I'm going to sell with that passion as well.
I love that. When you move a lot of property, sometimes you think you have all the answers, but they have a reason for what they're doing and why they're doing it, and you better know what it is, right?
That's right.
Don't make a lot of assumptions. I think it's easy. Oh, well, I can solve that problem. I know what you want. You better let them tell you because they have a reason, a purpose for what they're doing. So that's a really good lesson to take from that. I was going to say something else with that, but that's okay. So let's talk about AI. Are you utilizing AI or any new technology that's come out and changing maybe the way you sold houses even 5, 6, 7 years ago? Because things are moving so fast and we're all talking about it. Are you able to kind of benefit from utilizing some of the new technology out?
I do. I'm on ChatGPT every day. Yesterday, I took my MLS description and I popped it into ChatGPT and I said, rewrite this for the best SEOs today, and changed my MLS listing. As I mentioned, I popped a picture in of a house that does not have the backyard, and it took me 2 or 3 prompts, but I finally got the right photo with a pool, a pergola, and lounge chairs and a playground in the background because it's a large backyard. And so I wanted somebody to have a vision. And so I spent 7 minutes getting the right prompt. So I'm really digging into ChatGPT to do many things. I still believe that I'm a novice because the capabilities that we have are pretty mind blowing. I have not used it to plan my whole week or year as some people do. I am using it to write, video scripts or come up with scripts for YouTube or topics for YouTube. But anytime I have a question, I just go straight to ChatGPT and then I start researching and inputting and come up with just wonderful information that I find always helpful.
And ChatGPT can absolutely do all that and help you manage and be kind of like another employee for you if you can
Mhm.
utilize it, to its full extent.
I did start using Perplexity. Have you used
Mm-mm,
Perplexity?
never heard of it.
So I'm using Perplexity because I'm now going to be doing a weekly newsletter to my clients, and it will tell them what's going on this weekend. And I look for things that are in the whole DFW area. And so Perplexity is better for that, and it can also help me with some thumbnails and some photos to put in the newsletter.
Okay. So it's a newsletter type opportunity. I think probably the number one is keeping current matters. And it's sufficient. It works, has good articles. It's not hyper local, which is good for me. I mean, I think, you're generally pretty hyper local if you can, right? So your main audience is going to be targeting even as much as 75093, which is way better than trying to do it all. You can have an easier connection with people in that space. You have a higher conversion. You may not hit 10,000, but you can hit 100 people that are in the same zip and you all have the same common language, common experiences, and same understanding, same feels about the area. You'll have a better connection with them. It's a higher conversion rate. Do you work cold leads at all? Like, do you have any type of cold lead generating systems, or do you primarily try to always stay in your sphere if possible?
I try to stay in my sphere. I really do work, the top 20% of my sphere. I really do nurture my 3 referral-based people. And if anyone sends me a lead, then I do send them a gift card.
I love that. Yeah. How do you do that? So that you get a lead, you get an opportunity, even if it doesn't turn to anything, you immediately send them a gift card.
A handwritten note with a gift card.
Okay. What do you use? Like Starbucks, Amazon, what?
Either Visa or Amazon.
Yeah. That's genius. I hope people catch that because the importance of it is on the money spot. We don't care if it doesn't convert at all. You were thought of, and
Exactly.
you're going to give them a high five or, thanks.
So I sent 2 Visa gift cards out this week. So now I have to go buy some more Visa gift cards, and you have to pay for the activation fee. So I might switch to Amazon for a bit.
Okay. Well, yeah, there's plenty of stuff. Amazon sure makes a lot of things easy. If you were to start over today, knowing what you know in real estate, what advice would you give yourself?
When I started out, believe it or not, we did not have a database system. I think Top Producer came out back then. I only know one person that uses that anymore. I would have nurtured my database much better and learned who my top 20% are in my sphere and learned who my top 3 referral bases are and focus. That's what I would have done the most, I think.
When you say top three referral bases, are you referring to groups or three people that give you more referrals than anyone else?
3 people. three people that always keep me at top of mind.
Yeah.
So one of the other things that I did when I shifted, and something that I should have done a long time ago, but I always refer to the mortgage person and the title company and myself as a team, right? We're a team to get this transaction over the desk and to the closing line. We work together. But I'd forgotten about the insurance agent.
Oh yeah.
And here recently, with all the issues we've had with insurance, I connected with my insurance agent who I've known for a long time. And now he sends me referrals on a regular basis. And with my reputation, it doesn't matter how difficult the transaction I will get it closed. I will get it over to the closing the table, over the line. And so he has been a huge resource for me. The
I think
last,
people forget about insurance as part of, they should be also included in that group. You could do inspector, you could do some other people, but insurance or even a roofer sometimes is a pretty good in your pocket benefit because they can also sponsor a lot of things and events that you
Mhm,
do. They have the money, they have the budget more than most others, and they would love to partner with realtors for obvious reasons because you're the one that people call for contractors.
they do. And I have a preferred roofer, but he also has a lot of real estate agents that he works with. But so that's why I focused more on this insurance agent. The other one
But
is,
yeah, they're giving you referrals back.
mhm,
I mean, that's a big win on the insurance. Who's the other one?
she works at a country club for new members. And so
Okay.
she knows when people are selling and buying.
Yeah.
And so, I take care of her, take her to dinner, bring her a bottle of wine. It's just nurturing those people that you need to spend time with is where I've really pivoted the last few years, because we were so busy prior that you didn't necessarily take the time. And so now I'm taking the time.
Okay. Well, awesome, Rosa. That was some really good information. Thank you for sharing, from your experience and being transparent about a lot of, the things that you've done. There's definitely some agents out there that can connect and relate to making that more personal touch relationship focus. How do we find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Rosa Collins Home. You can find me on Google Business page. You can find me on LinkedIn. Pretty much Rosa Collins Home, Rosa Collins Real Estate Group are my handles on those three things. I enjoy popping some things onto LinkedIn every once in a while. Some of the higher end homes, they seem to be received well. And one thing I would like to say to all you agents out there is please answer the phone. Stop texting. Answer the phone and talk to other real estate agents. It will make your transaction go so much smoother. You will learn things from this agent. It's just so important that we pick up the phone and stop relying on text for everything. It's different in what you were doing. Text is in your scenario that you were doing, and you said you did everything by text for the
Oh,
property.
for off-market
For
clients, yeah, because
market
there's
things
no
like
emotion in.
that. There's no emotion, but
When I'm getting close and I know I need to get them on the phone to explain a specific search circumstance that's beyond just a money, then yes, I'll get them on the phone. But I have a thing called counterculture agent where I really drive against what agents do as a part of their business that's not working. And I have a real heavy, aggressive one I talk about. Stop negotiating by text and email. You leave so much out. Just get on the phone, have the conversation. I'm cool putting it all in email after the conversation, but we
yes,
got to talk through it.
yes,
It's
yes.
not just I'm taking 10,000 off just because I feel like it and take it or leave it. We need to have a talk.
That's right. That's part of the negotiating, is actually having a talk, follow up with an email so we have all of our facts in writing, and just please pick up the phone. And so I'll leave a voicemail and then I'll text you, say, left you a voicemail. Call
Well,
me.
thank you. Thank you, Rosa, again for joining us. I'm sure you and I will probably do a transaction in the near future. We're both selling quite a bit of real estate. I love it. And we'll maybe even do one of these again in the future. I think there's going to be a lot of fun things happening in the next year.
Love
For
that.
all of you that have been on and joined us on this YouTube podcast, I appreciate you joining us. Please subscribe to Real Estate Success DFW. That is in this video link. You can click the link, you can subscribe through that. And for all of you out there, continue to sell and sell well and have a high performance week. Thank you. That wraps up another episode of Real Estate Success DFW. I hope you're leaving with new insights that push your real estate career forward. If you enjoyed the show, please be sure to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with fellow agents who's ready to succeed. And if you're interested in working together or have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. Reach out to me directly. My personal phone is 214-228-0383.
Let's connect and make real estate success happen together. Until next time, keep pushing forward. I'm Shaune Corbett, and this is the Real Estate Success VFW. Have a high performance week.